Hello and welcome. We're back for our Wednesday special manifestation session. And what I posted this morning when I was posting this event that is occurring today, as we do as often as we possibly can on Wednesdays at 12 noon Eastern Time, this is your opportunity to get your questions answered, your burning questions. And what you can do is, if you can't make it to the live events, because we record everything that we do, is you can submit your question in advance. And the way that you submit your question in advance is by emailing support@peggymccall.com. And in that email, you can basically say that what your intention is to get your question answered during our manifestation time together here on Facebook. So I want to welcome you. Hello, Anne. Good to see you here again. And there's Roddy. Hello, Roddy. Happy to have you back. Okay, what I'm going to do today is anyone that has a question that's on here live right now in the next 30 minutes, I'm very happy to answer any of your questions. So what you can do is type the question in the little chat box here, and I see Nancy's here and Sarah's here as well. Type your questions in the chat box and I'd be more than happy to answer them. But in the meantime, I'm going to read a little section from Savvy Wisdom. I have decided that I'm going to work on the sequel, which would be the next version of Savvy Wisdom. In other words, what happens after Sophie gets that contract for, I won't give away the ending of this book if you haven't read it, but essentially what I'm going to be doing is talking about where does this go next? Where does the story unfold? What happens in Sophie's life? So that's what we're going to be doing. And welcome, Anne. Happy to have you here as well. And Kathy as well. Okay, good. Okay, Kathy, I'm going to answer your question in a moment. But I want to read to you from this book, Savvy Wisdom. I'm on page 68. And this is a dialogue. So this book is a parable, if you're not already familiar with it. It's a fiction book. It's a story that's based on meeting Bob Proctor. But here's something that I want to share with you today. And I want to share this with you today because of the importance of you, your goals, and you living the way you would love to be living. So there's a section here where Savvy says to Sophie, "Hey, Sophie, it looks like you're taking this seriously." And Savvy commented with a smile. And Sophie replied and said, "Well, you said my life depended on it. You meant that, right?" And what they're talking about is implementing effective manifestation techniques, right? Because it's not enough to know these materials. It's not enough to study the materials. You must be implementing. And if you don't have a mentor or you're not involved in this study, you definitely need to get involved in a very serious study. You've got to make a commitment if you desire to go to the next level. So then Savvy answers this way. He says this, "Yes, definitely." He meant it, is what he's referring to. Savvy went on, "Most people tiptoe their way through life hoping they'll make it safely to death. You've probably heard Bob Proctor say that, and it's true. Many people tiptoe their way through life hoping they're going to make it safely to death. The truth is, life isn't a rehearsal or preparedness for something else or for some other lifetime. Life is happening now. Right now. There isn't a trial run and you don't get any do-overs. This is it. It is time to make the most of it. You see, I was blessed to have a very wise friend who took the time to explain how life works for me. When I was quite young, my friend told me that magic is the opposite of life. He said that with magic, when you know how it works, the magic disappears. However, with life, when you know how it works, the magic begins. And why I wanted to choose that particular segment out of Savvy Wisdom to read to you and to share with you today is because I believe I'm put here to help you understand how to create magic in your life. Now, as I notice on the right-hand side, some of the folks that have joined us are already creating magic in their life as well. And I found that the difference to creating magic in one's life really involves a couple of things, a couple of simple things. One is to be a serious student who is actively involved in daily study so that you have that understanding. And secondly, to be living it. It's not enough, as I said, to be studying this. It's not enough to only have the understanding. Yes, it's valuable, but you definitely want to understand the materials. Okay, so we're going to head on over to, thank you, Kathy. I love that too. I love who you are. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go over to the questions that have been submitted. The first question that we have, I love this question. It's a brilliant question. I think you're going to appreciate it as well. So here's the question. It is from someone named Evrim. I was listening the last 28 days to my Power Life script every day. I'm currently in debt and do not like my job. I wrote down all my wishes in present tense. For example, that I am on the positive cash flow in my bank account and I'm working on my dream job, etc. I was a little scared when I was doing that. Then I knew something will happen and I'll get out of my comfort zone. Yesterday, after 27 days, it happened. I got fired. Here in Turkey, you get severance pay. It is 44% more than I need for my debts in my bank account. Yay. I was a little bit sad yesterday, but then I thought, hey, this is your manifestation. Celebrate this. You got the money. Today I feel happier and hopeful. I was still scared, but I try to trust my process. My question is it okay to feel sadness and happiness at the same time? Is it okay to be scared? What is your suggestion to keep aligned when everything changes? I will listen to my Power Life script my whole lifetime and I will make my revisions. This is 100% sure. I'm looking forward to your advice. Thank you so much. I love you. Well, thank you. That's awesome. I really appreciate that. Okay. Number one, congratulations on getting fired. You didn't like that job anyway. So this is the universe has your back. You're getting aligned to do exactly what you want to be doing. And you also focus on prosperity and having abundance or having money in your life. And you manifested that. You see, that's part of the power of a Power Life script. But what happens is that when people start to experience better results and they start going in the direction of their goals, unexpected things occur. And what happens is most people retreat or they think it's a negative sign and they go right back because your paradigms, your belief system is already there based on a previous understanding. So when you're looking to change your results, what you must change is what's going on within you. And in order to do that, it is a daily discipline. So here's what I would suggest. Oh, first of all, let me answer the question. Is it okay to feel happiness and sadness at the same time? You would never feel them both at the exact same time. You might feel happy one minute and then sad the next, or sad one minute and happy the next. So they're on the same scale, the same emotional scale. You don't feel them both at the same time, but you might feel them both within a matter of minutes or seconds. So that's absolutely possible. The most important thing that you can do, and anyone else that's listening to this, is focus only on positive emotions. The moment, boom, the second you begin to feel negative, fearful, anything that doesn't feel good, switch out of that. Just notice it's there and just say, this isn't going to serve me, and switch over to a better feeling. That's what you want to be doing. Now, is it okay to be scared? Absolutely, it's okay to be scared. Part of the human experience. Just recognize it is what it is, and you want to move up that scale. So on the bottom end of faith is fear. So you want to move up the scale to faith. How do you do that? By listening to your Power Life script. We'll definitely build that faith because it's an emotional muscle that you're going to work on and you're going to focus on every single day. Now, the next question is, what is your suggestion to keep aligned? Well, everything that you can be doing throughout your entire day to be aligned with your outcome is exceedingly valuable for you. You're going to draw to you everything that you desire. So that would involve things like feeling grateful for your outcomes as if they're already here now, even if there's no evidence of it in sight. Oh, I'm so happy and grateful, and you just feel it. Writing in a gratitude journal is a great thing to do as well. Saying affirmations, finding things that just inspire you and excite you, like move over to those kinds of thinking. Studying, watching videos that inspire you, reading books that inspire you, listening to your Power Life script over and over and over and over again, doing visualization, meditating, going for a great walk, and focusing on imagining that you're living this amazing life. And just before you go to bed, ask yourself, now that I'm living my amazing life, how do I feel? And you want to go to sleep at night only feeling and connecting with those emotions as if it's in your life now. That's how you stay in alignment. It's easy to understand. It's a simple procedure. But the old paradigms do try and hold you back. So you be stronger than those, bigger than those, recognize what they are. And they show up in different ways. They show up in sadness. They show up in fear. They show up in worry. They show up in guilt. They show up in resentment. They show up in disillusionment. They show up in frustration. And you just got to recognize when those old paradigms show up and say, I know what's going on here. We're pushing you aside and we're moving forward with only wonderful expectations. You're living in the joyous expectancy of the best. All right, that's where you want to be. That's where you want to be every day, living in that joyous expectancy of the best. And you know what you're going to create? The best. All right, thank you so much for asking. I really appreciate it. The next question that we have here is from, oh, lots of questions coming in today. I love this. Okay, great. The next question is from Kathy. What is your biggest tip for a first-time author? All right, Kathy, if you're not in my complete author program, get in there. Absolutely, biggest and best tip. Why? Because you want to have success as an author. Even if you've written your book, it doesn't matter. Get into my program. There's an immense amount of content in there. And any author who has a desire to create success, when they follow what I teach, can create success. I mean, think about it. I'm sitting here as an author working on my 20th book. I've earned millions of dollars. You know, I'm doing work that absolutely I love. Books are in over 100 countries in 37 languages. I've been on the New York Times bestseller list. I've received advances from publishing houses. I've self-published, published. I've used books as lead generators that have invited people to get into other programs. In other words, I know my way around this industry. I'm not saying I know everything, but I know a lot, and I can certainly help you. And this is what I love to do, is help others live their lives, their dream lives. So I would absolutely recommend go to thecompleteauthorprogram.com, get yourself enrolled, and Roddy put the link there in the chat box. It is thecompleteauthorprogram.com, and get yourself enrolled. Okay, and then you'll connect with me because we have Q&A calls, so I'll see you on those. All right, my next question here is from Sarah. How do you answer somebody who asks what you're currently doing when you're not actually in the place you want to be? I would just answer honestly. Say, you know, this is what I'm doing now, but my intention is I'm going to be doing this. And then you just say, this is, because I know for you, Sarah, it's a commitment. Like Sarah's intention is to be a destiny coach. And so you can tell them, like, my intention is to be a destiny coach. That's what I'm working on right now, getting ready for it, doing all the preparation. And that's what I'll be doing. That's what I would say. How's that? How's that sound to you, Sarah? Let me know. Type in the chat box. Okay, Nancy has a question. I was reading that you need to start marketing your book a year before it's published. That seems a bit much. What do you say? I don't know where you read that, but no, that's not necessarily true. I've written books and released them and within hours started to market the book. And so Nancy, you've been in my author program, so you know that. So, you know, here's the truth. And I was chatting with one of my private mentoring clients about this morning. Is that, you know, in the program that I teach, and of course, Kathy, when you get in there, you'll see this. In the program that I teach, I give recommendations. I give you the step-by-step. Here's a plan, you know, how to do it. If you want to be a New York Times bestselling author, here's what you should do. If you want to be an international bestselling author, here's what you should do. If you want to use your book as a lead generator, here's what you should do. And so these are recommendations, but I suggest to every single one of my clients, use your own creativity. I'm working with a private mentoring client right now who has an intention to make their book a New York Times bestseller in August. They haven't done all the things that I'm recommending. They haven't. Now, I can't do it for them. I can give them advice and I can make recommendations, but it's up to them whether they're going to follow through or not. However, here's what I believe. If they really truly believe in the outcome of their book being a New York Times bestseller, it's possible. Absolutely possible. Now, even though I may recommend in my course, give yourself 6 months to plan for it, and I explain why and the steps to do it, they're doing it in a relatively short period of time, within about a month. So is it possible that they can do it? Sure. And I'd never be the one to squish someone's dreams. I would never be the one to say, you can't do that, because maybe they can. And I'm helping them. And maybe they will. They're putting together a pretty amazing campaign for their book. So when you're out there studying, even if you're studying my stuff and you hear me say something, just use your own filter, use your own judgment. It doesn't have to take that long. What you're reading or what you're studying are people's own paradigms. What you're reading and understanding are my own paradigms. But I've been studying for over 40 years and I've produced amazing results. So my paradigms are strong and they're very good. Hence the reason why I help people. But whenever you're looking at anyone's advice, another thing to look at is what have they done? Like when you look at people that are out there claiming to be, successful in a certain area. I'll give you an example of this. There was a woman who took my program many years ago. It was my author program. And she had written a book about prosperity. And she understood prosperity consciousness. She did understand prosperity consciousness, but she wasn't living by it. And as an example, she went on a payment plan because we offer payment plans with our programs. And she made the first payment, but didn't make anything else. And she wasn't. And, it takes that time and energy and effort from my company, from people in my business to chase and pursue funds that are, due. And anyways, she would have no responsibility for the money that she owed. And I heard from another source that she was having a similar experience with that organization where she had signed up for something, had asked for a special arrangement or some kind of a payment plan and wasn't following through. And then she emailed me and said, would I be supportive of the launch of her book on prosperity consciousness? I can't, in integrity, be supportive of something that somebody is definitely not demonstrating that they're living by the materials. Now, you could understand the materials, live by the materials, but the results are going to show up later. But the point that I'm saying is you want to be cautious about where you're getting your information as well. If I'm studying, or when I'm studying marketing or sales or success or online success, which is a big part of what we study here as an organization, I'm only looking for people that already have a deep understanding. It's demonstrated by the results, and they're getting great results. Those are the ones that I want to learn from. Like when I met Bob Proctor in January 1979, which was 42 years ago, and I sat in the ballroom listening to him share the understandings of success because he had already been studying it around, I think at that point, around 18 years. I knew that he had a far better understanding than I did because I could tell. Energetically, you feel it and you see it. And so everyone's going to see it and feel it as well. And anyways, went a little off track with that answer to the question, but I don't agree that it has to take a year to plan to launch your book. I believe you can do it in a relatively short period of time. There's just another way. It's just a different technique. It's a different methodology. All right, thank you. All right, Sarah, we're looking forward to hearing about your results as well. All right, our next question that we have here today is from Samriti, and it says, if I hold a vision for my daughter to do well in her studies and get specific grades, does it violate her free will? How do we word our vision for our loved ones in our Power Life script? I love this question. And of course, I write in my Power Life script about my son and my grandson, and now I have a granddaughter. Does it violate their free will? No. It sounds very loving. It sounds like an unconditionally loving gesture. It only serves them. And what you're doing is you're giving energy toward a positive outcome for someone else, which does give energy, right? It's energy in motion. So I talk about my son, how happy he is, how confident he is, how he's doing really well, how he's happy with his family and everything that he's doing. Not because he's not, but just because as a mother, and for any of you mothers that are out there, there's no one on this planet I love more than my son. I love my husband, obviously, but there's a different bond between a mom and a son or a mom and a child. And so that's the reason why I include him. He's obviously important to me in my Power Life script as well. So it's giving good energy. He doesn't even know that he's in my Power Life script, but it doesn't matter. I'm giving it energy. You're giving good energy to your daughter and for your daughter in seeing her with great grades. What you may want to do is also help her get emotionally involved in seeing and having and experiencing wonderful grades as well. That's what I would suggest for you. Okay, our next question is from Monica. Do you tell others about your past troubles? Is that bringing negative or encourage others? Great question. I would say the answer is it depends. And I'll give you an example. Savvy Wisdom, I had mentioned earlier, I was reading from this book. Savvy Wisdom is a parable or a fiction book that's based on my life. And when you read it, you'll discover that in the beginning, in the very first chapter, that Sophie didn't want to live. She took a walk one day to a park. She sat on a park bench because she was contemplating how to end her life. And that was true. That was me. That was my life. And it doesn't matter who you are or where you are, everyone is going to experience challenges. Everyone. Some are just to different degrees than others. And so the point of sharing something from the past, my belief is to share the lesson from it so they don't have to go through it. So they don't have to experience the challenge. And a great example of that is when I first became an author with my first book, and I really didn't understand the industry of being an author, I was in a place called ignorance, meaning not knowing. And I recognized very early in the game that if I didn't learn how to market effectively, I'd probably be struggling, all the days of my author life. And so I learned how to become a successful author. So when I share the story of writing my first book and self-publishing a book and then having stacks of books all around and realizing that I was going broke, trying to, become this successful author, that I realized that what I needed to experience was, or what I needed as an understanding was how to effectively market my books. And then I got on with the work. So is that telling about my troubles? Sure, but in a positive way. So it can encourage others. Another thing that I found is when I share different experiences of what I've gone through, I find that people understand, oh, there's a human side there, right? Like there's a part of Peggy McColl that has experienced pain, emotional pain, physical pain, challenges in her life. And I'm authentically real. I'm going to share with you authentically what I've gone through, not because I want a pity party, because I certainly don't want any of that, but I share it authentically because the desire is to help another, because I got out of that place. I got out of the pain. I got out of the hardship and turned things around. So when people understand you've been where they are, you've been in the dark place or you've been in that hole, then they feel more confident that you can help them because you've been there. It's like, been there, done that. Oh, really? What did you do? Right? Because people want guidance. They want the help. They want the support. And so the more authentically real you are, but remember, you don't want to go back in time in your imagination and become emotionally involved in those emotions either. So I remember when I was working on my book, Your Destiny Switch, and I was in New York City, and I was at the office of my agent, and she had told me, she said, Peggy, you need to bleed from the page. And I remember when I first heard her advice to bleed from the page, I was thinking, that doesn't sound very attractive. And I didn't want to. And I said to her, well, what do you mean exactly? There was a desire there to understand exactly, what do you mean by that? And what she said is, now my agent, my literary agent, was formerly the president of HarperCollins, one of the biggest publishing houses in the world. So she's been in the book business a long, long, long time. She knows what she's talking about. But what she said is that when you share from your own experience of what you've gone through, your readers feel the compassion, they feel the understanding, they recognize that you've gone through your own challenges and yet you've turned things around. You've created positive results as a result of going through that. That encourages others, that inspires others, and that ultimately is what you want to be doing. You want to be encouraging and inspiring others. Okay, I think we have one more question here. Hey, Catriona is here. Good to see you. Oh, Kizzy, I'm so sorry. I just lost my mom last week. How can I turn it around for my family? Well, I'm so sorry. Losing a mom is a real challenge. I lost my mom. I miss her every day. I know what that's like. See, I'm having compassion for you, Kizzy. And it's genuine, it's sincere, because I know what that's like to lose a mom. But your question is, how can I turn it around for my family? You can turn it around for yourself. I would focus on yourself. And then what'll happen is you'll positively influence the others. So there's a number of things that you can do is, when death occurs, and actually there's a wonderful letter in this book, and I'm in Savvy Wisdom. And for those of you that haven't read this book, read it, okay? Absolutely read this book. Get this book. Go to savvywisdom.com. I still have some special offers there. This is based on my life meeting Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor is savvy, and I've never had better results from a book ever than this one. Okay, so when in the book, there's a scenario where Sophie, the main character, that's me, loses her brother. And in real life, I did lose my brother. And so Savvy, who has become her wise friend or her mentor, wrote her a letter after her brother died. And here's what he said, okay? Here's what he said. Dear Sophie, I heard about the passing of your brother Braden. My sincere condolences to you and your family. Understand that in this universe, nothing is ever created or destroyed. Braden's soul will go on to the next phase of his eternal journey. He is no longer in his physical form, but he's very much still alive. The Bible tells you to call on the spirits, and they will be there. When Braden came into this world, he made a transition from spirit to form. Now Braden has made a transition again, this time from form to spirit. Energy returns to its source of origination. Don't hold on to Braden. If you mentally go back to when Braden was around, you were full of joy. Let him be free and be joyous that he is out of pain. He is going home. Hold only good thoughts of Braden. Harvest all the good that he brought to your lives while he was here in his physical presence. He takes all that with him, and you get to keep it as well. Love Braden and release his soul. God bless you and your family. And what a beautiful, really think about, hold only good thoughts. Harvest all the good. Same thing for you, Kizzy, is harvest all the good. Hold only good thoughts of your mom. When you remember her, like I think about my mom, my brother did pass away, and in the book he's called Braden, but in real life his name was Gary. And Gary used to make my mom laugh like crazy. He was the funniest guy I've ever met. He was screaming funny, like funny. He should have been on stage as a comedian. And I think about how Gary made my mom laugh. And that would put a smile on my face because my mom had this wonderful, deep laugh. You know, she was just this incredible laugh. And so I remember that. Or I'll remember, how she used to make Christmas a really special event, or how much she loved her grandchildren. And so I really focus on that. So I'll go to the place in my mind, and it's okay to grieve. It's okay. Grief is a process, right? I think, we're emotional beings. You got to understand that. You got to give yourself permission to go through the emotion too. People go through emotions. They go through sadness. They go through fear. They go through, depression. They go through whatever. I mean, as long as you go through it, right? Like my mom, after my mom died, I remember chatting with someone, and I said, really, of experiencing these emotions. And he said this, he said, depending on, the relationship that you have with your parent, and in my case, I had a very close relationship with my mom. We used to talk every single day. Oh yeah, and Nick is on here. She said, oh yes, your brother was so funny. I met him a few times. I remember having sore cheeks from laughing so much. Yes, and Nick, I remember that as well. And so, when I was chatting with my friend, and I said, I'm just feeling so low in energy. And he said, oh, for goodness sakes, you lost your mom. She was close to you, and it's just part of the human experience. We're going to go through these experiences. Just understand it. But what you want to do is you want to seek to get to a better feeling place. That's what you want to do. You want to seek to feel better, even if it's just a little bit better, even if it's looking at old videos or looking at old photos and reconnecting to a memory in your mind of them when they were here. That can create an experience that'll cause you to feel a little bit better. And that's what you want to be doing, is feeling a little bit better. Was that helpful for you, Kizzy? Please let me know. Thank you. Oh, it looks like Kathy wrote, Kizzy, I'm so sorry for your loss. Give yourself time to grieve. I'll ask my mother to see her characteristics and all the lives she touched and cherish all the things that kept her memory alive. That helps bring me peace, love, and light to you and your family. Isn't that beautiful? And so, Kizzy, another thing is, oh, thank you. As you're doing this, as you're, experiencing the wonderful memories, you can invite your family members to do that as well. And I just remembered an experience that I had with my family. When my brother Gary died, he was living in Florida at the time. We live in Canada, and he had moved down to Florida. He was a builder and he was building homes down there. And so the service for Gary was held in Florida. And Gary had 2 children. And my mom, my sister, my brother, we all flew down to Florida for the service for my brother. And after the service was done, we went out to a restaurant. And I think the restaurant we went to was Chili's. You know, it's like a chain of restaurants. I really like Chili's. So we're at Chili's and we're at a big table. And it was one of those big, long tables. So they created a section for us in the restaurant with one of these big, long tables. And, they started bringing drinks or whatever. We're getting ready to have our dinner. And, one by one, people were sharing stories of Gary. We were laughing hysterically because everything about the experience of Gary, I mean, anytime anybody mentions his name, it's all fun and laughter. And he was like a party waiting to happen. He loved to dance, loved music, just loved to have fun. And so we're all in this room and we're kind of loud, because of the laughter. And the waitress finally came in and she said, "What are you guys celebrating?" And it really caught me off guard for that moment. Like, what are you celebrating? Because we just attended my brother's funeral, right? And here's my mom who just lost her son, which was brutal. My father wasn't there. He was alive at the time, but he wasn't there because he had some health challenges and he couldn't travel. But anyways, the point is, it's like, what are you guys celebrating? And we said, we're celebrating the life of, Gary McColl. I mean, he was this amazing being. And she thought that was, maybe a little odd, but she liked it, that we are there having this experience of remembering and being in that place of joy, because we had so much great memories, or so many great memories, that we could experience the joy even though he had passed on. All right, so there we go. All right, the next, looks like we have a couple more questions. All right, great. So we're going to go beyond the 30 minutes here today, if you're okay with that, and I suspect you are. 2 more questions have come in, and I'll answer them, and then we'll call it a wrap. This question from Beate. After meditations, affirmations, calls, etc., for me, mostly when meeting with others, for example, relatives, no harmonious togetherness possible. Before it escalates, I lower my frequency to achieve harmony. This does not seem to make sense to me. Are there other possibilities? No harmonious togetherness possible. I actually don't understand, Beate, what you mean by this. Can you help me understand a little bit more? Sorry, I don't understand. I'm going to go to the next question. If maybe you could elaborate a little bit. It'd be wonderful. We could open up I could hear you. I don't think that's possible on Facebook Lives. I'm pretty sure it's not. Okay, I'm going to go over to the next question. I'll come back to you in a moment. Dua says, my 7-year-old son is listening with me and he wants to ask you what it takes to become an expert on something you like to do. I love that he's asking that question. I would say, what does it take to become an expert on something that you like or want to do? I would say study it extensively. Study it and practice it, another implement. So I'll use a couple different examples and maybe one that you might be able to relate to a little bit more. So let's say that I'm thinking about my son. My son's name is Michel. It's French Canadian. My son Michel, actually Nick, who's on the call right now, her son and my son are best friends. And Nick and I are very, very close friends as well. And so when the boys were growing up, Nick's son, Alex, was into motocross, and so was his dad. They had motocross bikes. And I thought that'd be a fun thing to do. So, I got a motocross bike as well for me and for my son. And my son was in love with it. And I know Alex and his dad were also in love with motocross. And some of my son's friends have gone on to be competitors in that field. And so why they become competitors and very well known in the field and have accomplished a lot is because not only did they study it, did they study what it takes to succeed in that field or in that endeavor, but they also practiced, right? They worked on improvement every single day. And so this is how you get really good at something. You study and you practice, and you study and you practice. Now, many years ago, my mentor and friend, Bob Proctor, had said, the following. He said, no amount of reading books, going to seminars, listening to audios is going to do anything to you or for you unless and until you understand it and apply it. You've got to have the understanding and the application. So for your son, Dua, I would suggest study and apply whatever it is that you're passionate about. Now, how do you know if you're passionate about something? You know you're passionate about something by how you feel. So if you're trying something like my grandson, James, who's almost 10 years of age, my grandson, James, has a cousin on his mom's side who's into baseball. He's 14. And he has a desire to become a professional baseball pitcher, like in the professional league, in the National League or International League. And so what is he doing? He's studying baseball. He's studying the best of the best. He's watching people who become role models for him. He watches the best of the best. He's noticing what they're doing. He has a coach. He's out there playing. He's working on his performance. He's working on getting better and better and better every single day in every way. And as a result, there's people now watching him, and people are commenting on, hey, he's getting himself well positioned to potentially move on. You know what? It's normally not this noisy here. I'm sorry if you're hearing that noise. I think my neighbor next door is out on a ride-on lawnmower, so that's what you're hearing. Anyway, so hopefully that's helpful. Okay, so Beate just expanded. When I have a relatively high energy, which is good for my goal and meet other people, sometimes it doesn't work. What can I do? Okay, I wouldn't be concerned about them. Stay in your high energy. There are, if you heard about mirroring and matching, like when you mirror someone's energy, you can do that in a positive way. So if you see somebody who's feeling great and they're energetic and they're alive and they're vibrant, you can watch the way they're holding themselves and you can mirror and match that. I think about Bob Proctor. I've mentioned Bob Proctor, and Beate, you know him as well. Like, you see Bob Proctor on stage or watch him in a video, watch the way he holds himself. When he's on stage, he's moving about the stage and he leans forward, he leans back, and he lowers his voice to get to a point. Then he raises his voice again. Now that's his style, but it's a style that's effective, right? And so I have found that no one has control over how you feel. Never, ever, 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 unless you give them permission. So don't allow it. Don't let someone else's energy affect you. Just stay in your positive energy. But here's what happens. If you get somebody like you who's positive and uplifting and inspiring and feeling really great, and you get an energy like that comes together with a lesser energy, here's what could happen. One energy is going to impact the other. So if you're feeling really, really great and optimistic and positive and enthusiastic and vibrantly alive, you will very likely impact that other person. Or they could impact you if you allow it, and if they allow it as well. So if this negative person or this one who's on a lower energy is feeling really bad or whatever, and you choose to, and sometimes it's subconscious, you choose to get caught up in their energy, the energy comes down. But here's what also can happen. Here's something else that can happen. You could be in this wonderful energy, this beautiful energy, this positive energy, and this other person is in negative and destructive energy, and you just don't mix, right? You bounce off each other. It's never going to work. It's like oil and water, they don't mix. And that's what happens sometimes with a very positive person and a very negative person, is they just don't come together. And so you just be aware of it and just don't allow it. Always stay in control of how you feel. Remember you're in control of how you feel. Now, if you want to positively impact another, do the best you can to inspire them by connecting with what they would really love and what they want. And sometimes questions can cause people to, look at things a little different way. It gives them another perspective. So, in whatever way you can, I know I can't influence everyone. And we have relatives, that'll come to our home or we'll go to their home and they're negative, right? I just don't let it get to me. Sometimes in my mind, I'm preparing myself because I know that I'm going to be around that energy, and it's I'm not letting it in. And sometimes I'll just be quiet, won't say anything, because even if I said something, they're not receiving. They don't want to receive. There's a lot of people that reside in negativity because that's what justifies their results. And so they hold on tight to those because the reason why their life is a mess is because of this. It's justifying their results. and they're in the habit of doing that. And as you know, it takes a little while. It takes a commitment for sure. It takes a decision to do it to change a habit. It's going to take some time. Okay. Yes, I absolutely agree with Roddy. He says, I would recommend skipping levels. Absolutely. And hi, Amy. Good to see you here too. Okay, beautiful question. There's one more question here, another one that just got added, and I love this question, so I'm definitely going to answer it. We're just going to go a little overtime today. Monica says, hi, Peggy and team. Can you create a program for people to let go of the past and how to close emotional impact stories from life? Definitely. You know, I'm working on something right now. It's going to be a little while in production, but I'm working on something right now. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to write about it in the sequel to Savvy Wisdom. So Savvy Wisdom has another book coming. It's going to be, I don't know what the name is yet. It's going to come to me while I'm writing. I know that. The perfect name is already there. It might be more Savvy Wisdom. It might be Savvy Wisdom 2. It might be the sequel. I don't know, whatever it's going to be called. It's another Savvy Wisdom. And in the next version of Savvy Wisdom, Sophie's going to be going through some things, and that's part of it. It's letting go of the past. It's loving yourself. It's about forgiveness. It's about closing those emotional impact stories that can turn from lemons to lemonade, essentially. So yes, I am definitely working on something like that. But first I'm going to write the book. So watch for the next version of Savvy Wisdom. Monica, do you already have the first version of Savvy Wisdom? I'm guessing yes, you do. All right, everyone. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure to be with you again. And for those of you, anyone that wants to find out a little bit more about working with us or what programs might be a great fit for you, you can certainly book an appointment with Vladdy. She's actually on vacation right now with her wonderful children. Robbie also, and Roddy will put the link in there to book an appointment with Vladdy. And she'll be happy to meet with you, might be next week, and to discuss that, you can certainly do that. But it's always a pleasure to be here. Oh yeah, thanks, Beate. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. It's fun to see you. Hey, Rhonda, good morning. And I look forward to seeing you guys again next Wednesday when we meet again. Thanks, Ann. And Ann, I'll see you tomorrow morning for our 9 a.m. Eastern Time appointment. All right, everyone, have yourself a wonderful day. I'll see you again real soon. You're very welcome. Thank you, Roddy.